Not one, not two, not even three, not even four, but 5 reasons why The Last of Us Part 2 sucks. Number 1, the reason is, I seen the state of play. I seen this official Sony trailer releases. This game, The Last of Us Part 2, has 0 innovations. It literally looks like The Last of Us DLC. They could have literally said Last of Us DLC and released it to the public. But no, they added a little Part 2 to try to fool people. This game looks like the same exact game. I think EA does more upgrades on their annual release of Madden than Naughty Dog did with this game. The Last of Us Part 2 looks like a copy and paste of the original game. To the part where when you go through the menus of like picking your guns from shotguns to pistols to making a bomb, it's the exact same thing. They didn't even change that. The gameplay, the animations are still exactly the same. The enemies still look exactly the same. And I know people are going to say, well, it's the same world. What do you expect to change? It's the same environment. No. That is a lie. It's the same thing. They did nothing new. Don't attack Call of Duty. Don't attack Madden. Don't attack NBA 2K. Oh, it's always the same game every year. Well, The Last of Us, Naughty Dog had 7 years, and they're releasing the same exact game. It is nothing new. Number 2, there's no multiplayer. Now, I know a lot of people are going to say, oh, well, the multiplayer is going to be released later on. You're trying to tell me they had 7 years. They took 7 years to develop a game that looks exactly like the previous game, and they couldn't release a multiplayer? That's another reason why it's gonna suck. Because they're giving you less of what they did originally. No multiplayer, it's another reason why the game is gonna suck. Even if it does come out later on. But I'm telling you from day one, it's gonna suck. Number 3, when the multiplayer does come out, guess what? The multiplayer is gonna suck. The Last of Us multiplayer is by far one of the worst multiplayer games I've ever played in my life. It's like Fallout 76 and Crackdown 3 had a baby and they produced that crap, which is the Last of Us multiplayer. That's how bad the Last of Us multiplayer is. It's slow-paced, it's boring, it's terrible. You got these people out there who like to stream it. I fell asleep numerous times watching some of these people sleep. Watching these people play alongside with their boring personalities. That's how bad The Last of Us remastered multiplayer is. It's absolutely terrible. And so when they eventually do release the multiplayer, it's gonna suck. Number 4, it's a Sony exclusive. And you know what? Sony exclusives are either overhyped, God of War, they're overrated, Uncharted, or they're really bad. Knack. The Last of Us Part 2 is going to fall in that one of those categories. God of War, it should be God of War. God of War is by far one of the most overrated games I've ever played in my life. Is it terrible? No. Is it boring? Absolutely. It's nothing more than a really good looking 3D beat 'em up. Button masher, and I don't care what difficulty you play it on, bruh. Whatever difficulty you play it on, it's still trash, it's still boring. The only people who love God of War are the same people that grew up without a daddy and they thought Kratos was his daddy for the 20 hours of the time they were playing the game. Cut it out. God of War is trash. Uncharted is by far the most overhyped Sony exclusive I've ever played in my life. I'm telling you, if that game was multi-plat, nobody would ever play that trash. Uncharted 4 looks good, but it is a snore fest. It is boring with even more bad multiplayer. And on top of that, The Last of Us Part 2, it's gonna fit in that same category. Because guess what? It's nothing new. So guess what? Being that it's nothing new, it's gonna follow that same path of those other Sony games. It's gonna be overrated. Number 5, what's really gonna make The Last of Us Part 2 suck? You You, the person watching the video. You, the viewer. You know, you, the person who probably already dumped down this video just by reading the title. Because guess what? One, you can't take another man's opinion. Right now, my opinion is affecting you emotionally. It's making you curl up your fist. Right now, look at your hand. I bet you your hand is in the shape of a fist right now. And I bet you probably make a fist wrong. I bet your thumb is tucked in your fist like that. I bet you right now, you're pushing this game, saying it's going to be the greatest game ever. But I'm telling you right now, it's not. It's not even going to be close because the game has no innovation. I've already played this game 7 years ago. It's not going to have multiplayer at release. So once I beat it, I'm going to be done with it. And then they're going to add some multiplayer. And guess what? The multiplayer is going to suck. And I'm going to be like, why am I wasting this? Why am I wasting my time? And after 1, 2, and 3, I'm going to realize, damn, I bought another Sony exclusive and it's overhyped trash. And the 5th reason, I'm going to tell you guys this reason, and you're going to be like, oh no, you don't know what you're talking about. You don't know a good game when you see one. Sony is God. Sony makes the best games ever. No, you're just used to playing trash. Why don't you expand your gaming a little? Why don't you get another console in your house? Stop playing that Sony, you know? You play other things. Because guess what? These Sony exclusives are trash. They're overrated. And The Last of Us Part 2 is going to suck. I'm letting you guys know now. But guess what? No one's going to believe me until the time comes. And when the time comes, I'm like, damn, that guy Blake B160 was right. But anyway, yo, I'm pretty sure you thumbs down this video, you Sony fanboy. It's okay. But that just lets me know that I got in your head. You're upset. But don't worry. You'll come back and give the video a thumbs up. You're going to realize I'm right. So just to make sure you come back, make sure you subscribe.